Hi, we're live again. Welcome back. Tuesday Truths. I'll just give it a second to let whoever's joining me live hop on. If you're catching the replay, amazing. As you would have heard me say previously, it doesn't matter whether you catch these things live or watch the replay. Energy doesn't ascribe to the human idea of time, which can be hard for us to make sense of, but it is just as relevant to you if you are watching this 15 years down the track. Just trust that you've been brought to this video and the messages in it for a reason, and honor that. So today, I'm super excited to talk to you about the throat chakra. So this is a chakra that's very close to my heart because it is historically, and it still is, to be honest, a point of weakness in my body. So just to give you a quick rundown of what a chakra is and what the hell I'm talking about when I use that word, within our auras, the energy field that surrounds us, that myself and other psychics or intuitives are able to see or feel or perceive in other ways. Within that energy field are 7 major chakras, and those are just energy centers, essentially, vortices, some people call them. And they begin down at the major ones, the base of the spine, running up to the top of the head, the crown of the head. So the throat chakra is commonly known as the 5th chakra, chakra number 1 being down at the base of the spine, and chakra 7, the top of the head. So as you can imagine, the throat chakra is exactly there. It is around the throat. The way that I've heard other people describe that they see the chakras in our body is as vortices, as I mentioned, like spinning discs of energy, or sometimes like flowers. Hi Candice, welcome. Just talking about the throat chakra this evening or this morning, depending on where you are. The way that I tend to see chakras when I'm tuning into somebody's energy field really varies. Often I will see them, or most commonly I see like balls of light in the area, and the throat chakra will generally appear blue to me. And then within that area of light, I see different images or symbols. Hi Lavina, welcome, lovely. Within that chakra, I will see different images or symbols, like little movie scenes, or just different things that give me an idea of what is going on in that chakra for someone. The reason that that is important is that the state of our the state of our energy field and our chakras is directly related to the state of our external life. So the most powerful thing that you can do and you can learn to do for yourself is to work on your own energy field, to heal your energy field, and that will naturally heal and dissolve and eliminate the problems in your external life. It's much more efficient than just working on the outer. You can really eliminate, hi Rachel, welcome, lovely, problems at their source. Welcome, welcome. If you just joined, we're just talking about the throat chakra this evening. So that is why it's really important, I believe, to have an understanding of your energy anatomy. So I want to give you some examples of what the throat chakra tends to affect in your life, and that will probably give you an indication of whether your throat chakra might be overactive, which causes a certain set of problems, or underactive, which also causes problems. So as I mentioned last week, ideal is for all of our major chakras to be a similar size so that there's alignment there, rather than one of them drawing too much energy and the others being depleted, or energy leaving the energy field through that chakra. And there's a whole host of problems that all of these things can cause that I see in clients and that I see in myself and have experienced myself. So naturally we do tend to have, I see some chakras that are stronger and some that are weaker than others. And I think that's just like being born into this world with, some things are our strengths and other things we struggle with a little bit more. I think that it partly might be just something that we come into this world with, and also, of course, our environment and our upbringing and all of the experiences that we've had to date, and the habits that we have created for ourselves and the activities that we do. They can all really affect the state and the health of our chakras. So the throat chakra, chakra 5, is, as you can probably guess, responsible for our communication. So when we have a really healthy, active, open, balanced throat chakra, we can really easily express honestly how we feel about things. We know what we stand for, and we don't have any hesitation expressing that with love and communicating clearly and expressing our authentic self, our needs, our wants, our creativity as well, all of our individuality and originality, and being honest with ourselves as well as with others is something that plays out in the throat chakra. And I tend to focus on the aspects of our lives, the less tangible things that chakras affect, but every chakra does also affect physical organs of the body. So in the case of the throat, that chakra has an impact on obviously the throat, the vocal cords, the jaw, the teeth, everything in this area, the thyroid. And when I was younger, I used to have chronic tonsillitis, which is 100%, of course, a throat issue. And doctors just threw antibiotics at me. I just was on for years, course after course of antibiotics. And then eventually they said, we're going to take your tonsils out, but we want to wait until you finish school. So I just kept getting dosed up with antibiotics until then. They removed my tonsils. And then I developed a sore throat again not that long afterwards, and went back to a different doctor that I hadn't seen before, who said, oh, you've got tonsillitis. And I said, no, I don't have any tonsils. And he looked surprised and looked again, and he said, well, they've grown back. So then they're not as big as they were before, but apparently there was some residual tissue there and they grew back, and I just kept getting tonsillitis. So cutting them out and trying to suppress the problem with drugs didn't work. And I now understand that that's because I was creating that problem, or my poor throat chakra, the poor health of my throat chakra was creating those physical problems. And what actually needed to happen was for the toxic environment that I was in and the abuse to be addressed. Because if we feel like we can't speak up for ourselves, the throat chakra constricts. And still, as I said at the start of this video, an area of weakness for me. It's funny, I'm actually losing my voice a little bit as I'm focused on the chakra and talking about it. But I will often have problems in my throat still. And now I have the awareness to tune into, okay, well, what's actually going on here? Where am I not speaking up? Where could I be more truthful and open and honest and deal with it at an energetic level, rather than just trying to treat the physical issue and just having that recur over and over again. So signs that you might have some depletion or constriction in the throat chakra is if you do find it hard to speak up when you feel mistreated, if you are shy about boldly, openly and honestly expressing your ideas, if you don't feel heard, or if you don't feel as though you're a great listener, because it plays out in both ways. If you are unable to act on your creative ideas, if you feel like you can't communicate your inspiration openly, all of these things are throat chakra issues. Hi Taylor, how are you? Gorgeous. And obviously any physical issues in those areas, as I used to have, is a sign that it could use a little bit of healing, that things aren't humming along as nicely as they could. So when I say that a chakra governs an area of our life, I see that there's a chakra that is strongest in an area, but generally there are a few chakras, the health of a few at play in a certain area. So for example, if you aren't really owning your creativity and you aren't surrendering to that and living a bit more in the flow and allowing yourself to act on your inspiration or explore your creativity in any other way that feels intuitively good to you, I'll see an issue at the throat, but also at the sacral chakra. Because the sacral chakra, which is the second chakra down here around the uterus, around the hips, below the belly button, that governs creativity and also the feminine aspects of self, like surrender and flow. And the throat is responsible for communicating those things and allowing that flow as well. So I'll see that there's issues in both of those chakras playing out in that problem in somebody's life. Another common one I will see is if somebody naturally is very intuitive and has a lot of psychic ability, but they also have some fear around utilizing those gifts, or they just haven't learned how to do that yet, or they're not even completely aware consciously that they have so much ability yet. I will see the third eye and the throat at play. So it's as if there's a lot of information coming in from the cosmos, from the universe, from this person's guides, often while they're sleeping. Spirit will often use that time where our conscious mind is out of the way to start trying to communicate with our subconscious and our energetic being. So I will see that there's a lot of energy coming in up here through the third eye that wants to come out through the throat, and it is not being expressed. So there's a block there. And when there's a block there, that starts to snowball and it creates other problems in our life related to that communication. So I recall when I first started training in mediumship, when I realized that I had psychic ability, which didn't happen until I was in my mid-20s. Oh, hi, Yo-Yo, welcome. That was a problem for me. When I started training in mediumship, I noticed that if I was receiving information and I didn't have the confidence to speak it, I was giving a reading to someone practicing, and I hesitated and doubted myself, which happens, of course, when you're learning this stuff. There's always that hesitation and that doubt, oh, maybe that's wrong. So if I didn't speak it, my throat would start to feel off. I would start to feel congestion there. So it's that stifling of that creative expression and that intuition. There needs to be a beautiful, even flow of energy between our chakras rather than one of them constricting. Because what can also happen is if there is a weakness or a block in the throat, it affects the chakras on either side of that sort of by default, because the energy isn't flowing through easily. Just like if water were trying to make its way through a pipe and there was a block in it, or that area was a bit weaker, there was weaker water pressure there, it all has an impact. Hi Kushla, welcome, lovely. So what can we do to support the health of our throat chakra? Creative outlets, all of them are really great for anybody that is naturally quite intuitive. If that resonated with you when I said that I can see there's some constriction there if there's fear, I see that journaling helps, and often somebody's guides will recommend journaling to me in a reading. I let them know that they just write gibberish, just grab a bit of paper. It doesn't even need to be a beautiful book. You don't have to wait until a full moon. Just get a bit of paper, write in blood, doesn't matter, a pencil, a feather, just a stream of consciousness. Just start writing whatever comes to your mind, and then eventually the thoughts and the information will start to come through out onto the paper. And maybe it will take a few times, and maybe you'll have filled a whole notebook with just nonsense. That's totally fine. This is just about getting that expression flowing. And I do quite often see people's hands appearing as blue, as in, even when I was talking then, the way that I was seeing the hands writing in the journal was blue, as if writing is just as powerful for healing the throat chakra as speaking is what I see anyway. Singing is really good. Sometimes when someone comes to me for a reading, I see right away that they are a singer, because I see not just a bright blue throat chakra, but often, if you've never had a reading with me, I will let you know now, animals always tend to come through, because I really love animals, so I have quite an affinity with all sorts of animals. Blue whale will quite often come through right away if somebody is a singer, with that beautiful blue colour of the ocean, and showing him or herself to me, of course, as this beautiful blue calm being, singing the song of the sea. So it's about expression and about calmness as well, because this throat chakra governs some self-determination in conjunction with the solar plexus. So when we feel comfortable and safe in who we authentically are, then we feel okay expressing that. We're really secure in ourselves as an individual. So there's that calm energy that comes along with the throat. And if you know anything about colour therapy, the colour blue is often suggested as a calming colour for a child's bedroom, for example, or for somewhere where you want it to feel serene. And blue is the colour that I always see the throat chakra appearing as. So, hi Katie, welcome, lovely. As I'm looking at somebody's aura, if I'm seeing bits of blue light elsewhere, that gives me an indication that whatever is going on in that part of the energy body, or at the chakra closest to that, has its links to the throat or to issues related to the throat, like communication and honesty and expression as well. And that solar plexus throat link that I touched upon is very common also, and definitely something that I've had to be working on myself in conjunction with healing my throat, healing the solar plexus, which is the third chakra, just above the belly button. And that is the seat of our authenticity, the seat of our power. It enables us to draw healthy, loving boundaries and to know who we authentically are and honour our own needs. The solar plexus is mostly responsible for needs, and I see desires appearing in the sacral, but the solar plexus too, about honouring desires. And it's just about standing strong, essentially, and feeling empowered and confident. And it's where I see things like, I could just talk for hours about the solar plexus. Maybe the next live will be on that. But things like imposter syndrome show up there, all of our self-doubt and insecurity I see appearing there. So very often a link between the solar plexus and the throat in somebody's energy field, because there are those commonalities in the themes. So other things that you can do to support the health of your throat chakra, just be aware of it physically, and if you do find that you do feel a sore throat coming on, if you're prone to them, or issues in the ears, or you're grinding your teeth, just check in and ask, am I being honest with myself? Am I being honest with others? Am I keeping quiet and playing small? And so often, unfortunately, this is a learned response. I know that I am definitely a recovering people pleaser, so I know that many of you are as well. We were just taught that in order to be liked or loved and safe as kids, that we had to put other people first and keep quiet about what we really wanted or needed. And there's that saying, of course, children should be seen and not heard, and we just have absorbed all of these unhealthy messages about how it's better if we make ourselves small and we're not a threat and we're not heard. And of course, as you can imagine, that creates a lot of dis-ease, a lot of ill harmony within the throat chakra. So I'm going to move on to some questions, or one question that has come up a few times. So if you have any questions about not just the throat chakra, but anything at all, feel free to let me know in the comments, even if you're catching the replay, and I will get to them. The question that I've been asked a few times is, do I see auras and the chakras within them all the time? And the answer is no. And it's funny because I always thought that that would be really cool before I knew that I had this ability. When I just started to learn about the world of energy, I thought, wow, that must be so cool to just be walking around and seeing auras around everyone. It would just be so amazing. And now that, ironically, those abilities have opened up for me, I'm so grateful that I'm not walking around seeing all of that all of the time, because it's enough to be feeling it and perceiving it, and it just would be an absolute overload of stimulation for me if that was the case. So for me personally, the way that it works is I also really value people's privacy, because I didn't have that. I didn't have my own boundaries or my own space growing up, in a sense, because of the way, apologies, that I was parented. I really do honour people's privacy. And also my first job when I left school was in dentistry, so client confidentiality and all of those things have been drummed into me. But I would never tune into somebody's energy field without their permission. So I'm not just sitting at a cafe and peering into what's going on for someone. Not that it would be the end of the world if I did, because I think that with the ability to see what's going on for people comes so much empathy and understanding that we're all going through the same stuff. So there would never ever be any judgment on my part if I were to see details of somebody's life, of course, but I'm just not doing it. For me, I have to consciously tune into somebody's energy field in order to see the details of it. Occasionally, if I've had a few drinks of alcohol, then I do, when I'm talking to someone, I start to see details of it, but I really try and shut it down and stop that from happening for their sake, for privacy, but also because if I then wanted to deliver information, I would be concerned that I'm not doing it with the tact and the diplomacy and the consideration that I would be if I hadn't had any alcohol. So it's important to me to honour that. So I hope that that answers the question. If any more came up as I was talking, let me know, of course. Okay. The next question is, how do you help someone who is lost within themselves? Good question. It's taken me a really long time to learn this, and I only really integrated it pretty recently, Kushla, but we can't help other people. We can support them and encourage them to help themselves, and I think this is a really vital life lesson for everybody loving and empathetic, as we all are, to learn. What comes to mind is if you ever did life-saving or swim safety when you were growing up, they teach you to save somebody. You can't jump in the pool with them because the person is panicked and struggling, and even if they're smaller than you, their body weight will drag you down and you both drown. So you have to throw a rope out to them, throw a life buoy out to them, and try and talk them through how to grab onto it and get them back to safety. So that comes to mind because if we throw ourselves at someone trying to lift them up, if they are lost and they are not ready, they will drag us down, unfortunately. And I think that the most loving thing, although it's difficult, many times the most loving thing that we can do is to take a step back and allow people to find their own way and let them know that we are here and that we support them. But sometimes we can short circuit other people's spiritual lessons if we keep stepping in and enabling them. Sometimes I think they need to go through those experiences to come out the other side. There's so much growth and there's so much learning, so much gold in all of the shit in life, that if we step in, we can cut that off for people, and essentially we're doing them a disservice then. And I know that this is more difficult because you mentioned that it is your son, and in that case I do think that a parent, depending on the age of your son, has a little bit more responsibility to step in, of course, especially if the child is unsafe or at risk of being unsafe, then it presents slightly differently. But I think that the most powerful way that you can probably support your son is to be looking after you. And what is the most incredible thing about when we start to heal ourselves and focus on ourselves is the ripple effect out into the world around us. So if you are feeling safe and you are feeling good and you feel as though you are connected to and you found yourself, that energy will extend to him. Parents and children, the energy field is very often quite enmeshed, I believe. And obviously you've spent a lot of time together, of course, and so our energy fields become attached to other people's that way. But I think that's probably the most powerful thing that you could do, is to work on your own self, make sure that you're making time for self-care and meditation and leading by example in that way. So I hope that that's helpful. If it's not, if you want me to elaborate on something else or dig a bit deeper into it, just let me know in the comments. So the next question is, I cough quite often even though I don't have the flu or sore throat. What could it mean? Great question. This one's from Lavina. Energy in the throat clearing. When I'm channeling Reiki to someone, quite often their stomach will gurgle, they will start to cough a little bit, the muscles will twitch. Twitches are very, very common, and I just see it as energy clearing. So it might be that something came to mind. For example, something came up for you that previously you would have really shut down or been resistant to, and instead you reacted in a different way and spoke about it, and it's just a bit of old energy clearing as you create a new pattern and build new health in that chakra. It could also be just a little reminder for you, essentially a little bell from the universe asking you to reflect on some of those questions that I brought up before. So could you be speaking your truth even more? Could you be being more honest with yourself or with others? All of those sorts of things. So I know that that's it. And are you blocking that information as well? That's one more thing just came to mind. Did you just receive some intuitive information? Was your soul trying to communicate something to you and your human mind blocked it? And that's that energy coming in here and not quite coming out, and instead of flowing, it's just coming out in little bits like this, restricted. So those are the possibilities, but definitely something going on at the throat. Also maybe at the heart, depending on what sort of a cough it is. If it's a dry cough up in the throat, it's likely a throat issue. But if it's more chesty, then there's something going on in the heart. That's the heart releasing a physical phlegm, if it's a phlegmy cough, for example. All right, any other questions? It's interesting, I really am starting to lose my voice. Oh, and this isn't, I didn't consciously wear blue this evening for this live either, as we're talking about the throat chakra. I just generally tend to mostly wear blue because I've always been drawn to the colour. And obviously it's because intuitively I've known that that is the area of my body that needs healing. So looping back to things you can do to support the health of a chakra is to wear the colour of that chakra, because colours vibrate at a particular frequency. They're just bits of light moving on a certain wavelength. And chakras are the same. They're made up of energy. So blue supports the health of the throat, red supports the health of the base chakra, violets, purples, these upper chakras. That's something super simple you can do. And trust if you are drawn to a particular colour, it might be a long-term love of the colour, like blue is for me, or it might be a short-term almost craving that you have for a colour. And I've had this in the past for orange, just craved orange foods, went out and bought an orange bag, an orange skirt, just couldn't get enough orange. And previously I had never ever worn it. I even wanted to smell like orange. I was drawn to sweet orange oil. It was pretty amazing. So it was because my sacral chakra was finally activating and charging after many, many years of underactivity. So trust that if you're really just feeling drawn to a colour, that's your intuition telling you and guiding you to what your energy body needs. You're very welcome, Kushla, and you're welcome, Lavina. I hope that's answered your questions. If you've got more questions, let me know, even if it's the replay, because I can answer them next week, of course. In the meantime, if anybody would like, probably got time for one quick distant aura reading, so that if anybody is new to these, they can see how that tends to work. So interesting that I am losing my voice while I'm doing this. I find that if I do a couple of little readings in a row, when I'm getting to that tipping point where my energy field can't handle it anymore, which I'm largely unaware of, I sort of feel okay and like I could continue, like I could just keep going, but my throat is what indicates to me that I have to stop. And in the past, if I've done too many little mini aura readings in a row, I have at times just lost my voice completely, as if the universe was teaching me, no, enough's enough. You need to connect with how this is making you feel and what you can actually manage. So it's been really great for my boundaries. Boundaries are a solar plexus issue and a throat issue. All right, lovely. So Katie would like an aura reading. So I'm just going to do that quickly before we end. And Kushla says, I love the color yellow. That's awesome. So solar plexus stuff. So that's supporting you, drawing that color yellow into your life, supporting the health of the solar plexus and therefore your boundaries and managing your own energy field. All of those issues that amazing chakra governs. All right, just tuning into Katie's energy field. She's given me permission. So the first colours that are coming through, there's a little bit of yellow. It's all appearing around the upper part of the body here. A little bit of yellow, but mostly purples and greens mixed in together. So green is the colour of the heart chakra, and love and connection with others. Purple, violet is the colour, sorry, not violet, indigo, it's a deep purple that I'm seeing, is the colour of the third eye chakra, responsible for our perception. And the word that's coming through for you in this instance is for our union and yoking. What's coming through very strongly is for you right now, there needs to be a union of these ideas, is the phrase coming through, but there's 3 to 4 main ideas that I'm seeing like threads circling around your mind. It's as if it's like there's just this looping, as if you are stuck in some cyclical thought and really feeling like you're stuck almost like on a treadmill at the moment in aspects of your life. So what's coming in now is just this sense of, even already I can feel a shift in your energy field, like relief, like weight just lifted. It's like there was this calming and this big sense of clarity. And for you, this is about giving yourself permission to know that you don't need to hold on to it all, and you don't always need to be the one driving things forwards and coming up with ideas. And that doesn't always have to be momentum. It is really safe for you to drop things. And even as I was going to say that phrase, there was some energy there for you around dropping the ball, as if you're feeling like if you let go of some control, like you might really hurt people and let them down. So these are things that I can see linked to childhood. As I'm speaking, I'm seeing some energy around the wrists, and I still don't know why, but when I see that, I realise that always indicates something has its links in somebody's upbringing. So these are quite long-term patterns that are coming up for you to clear. There's a feeling of a bit of tightness through the heart, the chest, almost like a bit of anxiety or trouble breathing. So there's a really unique suggestion that's coming through for you that I'm going to pass on, and it is really gentle tapping for you from here on the body around to the top of the head and behind the ears. So I'm not sure why, but this is going to shift some energy for you, Katie, so feel free to do it now. It's as if there's just some stagnant energy here, and this little exercise is going to help shift some of that stress away and help you to shift out of that headspace of cyclical thoughts and pressure and responsibility, and know that it's safe for you to just, the phrase that's coming through is kick back. It's interesting, a lot of the images that are coming through for you are related to sports for some reason, like dropping balls and kicking back. This is a strong physical movement and outdoorsy energy coming through. So still some energy showing up around the right wrist in particular, which is related to a relationship with men in our lives, or the masculine aspects of self, which are linked to driving things forwards and that pushing and that doing that I mentioned, and feeling like you have to hold it all together and take on responsibilities. So a little bit of tapping suggested for you. Deep breaths as well into the stomach if you can, because there is still that feeling of tightness through the chest. And just knowing that everything's going to be okay with you just exactly the way that you are. There's no need for you to keep pushing or struggling or trying to be all of these things that you're not, or that you're fed up being. It's safe for you to just really return to you. And as I said, there's that big sense of calm and weightedness coming through for you as you let go of all that other stuff. So I hope that that's helpful for you, lovely Katie. Thank you for volunteering. Oh, wonderful. Lavina says she's been wearing yellow dresses all week, and Kushla has a yellow front door. That's so great. Amazing. The reason that I love both those things is that a dress covers the area of the solar plexus, so it's in like sitting right where the chakra is. And by the way, chakras extend out the front and the back of the body as well. I just always tend to point to my front because it's here, but sometimes, usually I do see most information appearing at the front of people's chakras. That might just be the way that I see it. If I see something at the back, I tend to consider it to be significant, as in it's like something that they're walking away from, something that's moving out, an issue that they've almost overcome, sort of thing. But the door is amazing as well, because yellow is the colour of the solar plexus, which I consider to be the security guard of our whole energy system. And when that's strong, it acts like a bit of a buffer between us and the outside world, just as your front door does. So that's super cool. Amazing. Oh, you're so welcome, Katie. Katie said everything highly resonates. You're very welcome. Thank you all so much for joining me this evening, and I hope that it's all been really useful for you. That's my intention with these little half-hour or so sessions. If you've got questions, if you have any ideas for things that you want me to cover, just reach out. That would be awesome. You can guide me onto what will be most helpful and healing for you, because I'm here to support that. All right, we will talk next week, if not before. Feel free to message me if you need anything. Lots of love.